past few days has seen a lot of mixed messages and speculation about President Trump's health, but this is not the first time a president has been less than upfront about an illness. 1919, American President Woodrow Wilson, exhausted from negotiating the peace treaty ending the First World War, contracts the pandemic influenza that's killed up to 50 million people around the world. In September, on a whistle-stop speaking tour, he suffers a small stroke. The White House, though, calls it a
nervous reaction in his digestive organs.
Wilson returns to the White House on October 2nd. He wakes up severely paralysed on his left side and partially blind in his right eye. Within weeks, he's developed an infection and nearly dies. All of it is kept from most of his cabinet, his advisors, and the American public for 5 months. Wilson's wife, Edith, assumes many of the responsibilities of the presidency. He's in no condition to stand for re-election in 1920 and dies 4 years later. When his successor, Warren Harding, falls ill in August 1923, also on a train tour, doctors announce he's suffering from food poisoning from seafood. In San Francisco, Harding is taken from the train to the Palace Hotel, but soon the White House can't cover it up anymore. Harding is dead. There are still secrets, though. Dr. Ray Lyman Wilbur, president of Stanford University, who treats the president, later writes,
"We shall never know exactly the immediate cause of President Harding's death, since every effort that was made to secure an autopsy met with complete and final refusal."
First Lady Florence Harding refused any kind of post-mortem examination and had the president's body embalmed within an hour. A rumour starts she'd poisoned her philandering spouse. When Franklin D. Roosevelt is elected president in 1932, it's known he'd had polio or infantile paralysis at the age of 39 in 1921, but the extent of his lasting disability is kept from the public. He can walk short distances and stand with the aid of calipers on his legs, often with the help of aids and walking sticks. The White House gets very good at showing him seated in his car, propped up behind a lectern or at his desk.
God keep us strong in the faith that we fight for a better day.
By 1944, with the D-Day landings looming, President Roosevelt is determined to run for a fourth presidential term. The White House reports he's in robust health. Behind the scenes, though, doctors warn in a confidential memo Roosevelt has advanced heart disease and would not survive another term in office.
It was my opinion that over the 4 years of another term with its burdens, he would again have heart failure and be unable to complete it.
FDR runs and wins and dies in office 9 months later. Vice President Harry Truman had no idea Roosevelt was so sick or that America had developed an atomic bomb. When President Dwight D. Eisenhower suffers a massive heart attack in September 1955, physicians initially tried to cover up his illness as well, claiming Ike has heartburn from a few too many onions on his hamburger. But then Eisenhower orders his press secretary James Haggerty to, quote, tell them everything.
News of President Eisenhower's sudden illness, described by his doctors as coronary thrombosis, came as a severe shock to us all.
It's a smart tactical manoeuvre from the former general. Eisenhower is kept in hospital for 7 weeks. Doctors give minute details about his condition down to the frequency of his bowel movements. His recovery and return to Washington become a triumphant event.
A crowd of more than 5,000 jams Washington Airport to roar their welcome to President and Mrs. Eisenhower as they return from a 7-week hospital stay in Denver.
Not that he had any choice, but Eisenhower trusted the public, and they trusted him in return.
I expect to be back at my accustomed duties, although they say I must ease my way into them and not bulldoze my way into them.
Eisenhower's health improves and doesn't stop him winning re-election the following year. Still, other presidents have resisted full disclosure. After President Reagan is shot in 1981, the White House gives some information.
The president was shot once in the left side this afternoon as he left the hotel.
Yes, he was shot in his left side, in his lung, a centimetre from his heart. He collapsed on the floor of the hospital, coughed up and bled 40 to 50% of his blood. His pulse was almost undetectable. But instead, newspapers reported Reagan was joking with hospital staff and telling his wife Nancy, "Honey, I forgot to duck." As we've seen in recent days, if you're going to be cagey about a president's health, that starts with those closest to the president. The risk you take, though, is losing the public's trust.